Hi everybody, and welcome to my channel, Learn, Love, Learn, Do. In today's episode, we'll continue our series in reading, writing, and arithmetic. And today's video will be all about how to read to your preschooler. Last week, I casually mentioned that reading to your preschooler builds the student skill of focus and attention. So today's tips and materials are going to really focus in on how to grab a preschooler's attention and how to build that stamina so it can last a little longer. My first tip is start small. When beginning to read to your preschooler, if this is a new thing for you, it might help you to keep in mind when you were introducing solid foods to your preschooler back when they were a young infant. You can't introduce every food to them all at once and even have them eat a complete meal. It's usually one or two foods at a time, and sometimes it's several tastings of that food before they will even accept it, most of it being pushed out by their tongue onto their face. It is the same with reading. So you want to start small. You want to introduce one thing at a time. You want to keep that meal of reading short and sweet, and you want to remember that it's going to take many tries to get them to accept reading. So that is tip number one, start small. Tip number two, start where you are at. Just start by picking up a book and showing them a few pictures. You do not even have to read the words on the page. If you can find something in the illustrations or in the photos that will engage your preschooler, that is a wonderful place to start, to get them looking into a book and observing what is there. If the illustrations are worth anything, they will draw a child in. And as they begin to be interested, you can read a few words. But again, the reading session ends when they lose interest. You do not have to read an entire book. You do not have to start at the beginning, and you do not have to read all the way to the end. Just looking at a few pages together is a great place to start. My next tip is just start. There is not a way that this will end as a terrible mistake. This is reading. It is a wonderful experience to share together, and it is something that will really bolster so many student skills and your preschooler's understanding the more books that he or she reads and hears. Start with a few pages each session, a few pictures each session, a few words each session, and then put the book down and walk away. And next time you're together, open the same book or go to a different book. You might try a couple different styles. The important thing is to just begin. Whether you have an infant laying in your arms as a very willing audience, or a wiggly toddler, or a wiggly preschooler, the idea is just to start and build in that regular habit a little teeny tiny bit at a time. Over time, their focus and attention will grow to the point that they're able to sit down and listen to a whole book. And these are wonderful beginning reading skills being built layer upon layer if you just start. So don't be afraid to jump right in and just try something. If you tie the reading session to another activity that they really like, then you can kind of get that buy-in for a few short minutes before going off to something that they would choose for themselves. So if you have a kiddo who wants to go ride bikes outside, say, okay, we will go outside and ride bikes. Let's sit down and look at this book for a few minutes, and then we will get ready and go outside. So if they're able to sit with you for a few minutes and look at a few pictures or a few pages and hear a few words, then you wrap it up and outside you go. So if you tie those beginning reading sessions to an activity that they really like, you can kind of get that buy-in, because they know once they get through those few things that you would have them pay attention to, that they get to go do the thing that they really want to do. Little do they know that the more they are being read to, the more they will want to be read to. My next bit of advice focuses on different types of books for grabbing attention. And they're grouped here by age, depending on who you're working with. Because when I say preschooler, I mean anyone before the age of kindergarten. So you could be working with an infant all the way to a 5 or 6-year-old preschooler. And so I have books here for a couple different levels, and they grab at different age levels. So the first type of book that I have are books that I call baby face books, and they have photos of real babies doing real baby things. So one that we have that we love, it's called Goodnight Baby. Ours is in Spanish and English, but I will include the links for all these books down below. And the great thing about it is it has photos of real babies, but it also has these real babies going through a real part of their day, which is getting ready for bed. So we're hungry, and then we're tired, and so we're gonna take a bath, and then it's time for a kiss goodnight. And so babies, young infants to toddlers, they are very interested in faces. They are studying your face because they're trying to learn who you are. That's the very young infant. And toddlers, they like to study faces because they're learning about their world through your face and your reactions to things. So that's why photos of baby faces are grabby to them, because it's something that they are interested in and learning about their world from. Another baby face book that I love is from a series called Baby Faces. Ours is in Spanish, again, but it has these huge photos of babies. And our favorite book is about eating food, and the babies' faces are just messy, and there's food everywhere. And that is so attention-getting, again, because of the baby face, and because this is something that young infants know about. They know about trying food. They know that it's messy, and there's a lot of interest there. Another way to grab attention for a young toddler is with Lift the Flap books, because there's always a surprise, and they love that element of the unexpected. To them, something is present when they can see it, and it ceases to exist when it is out of their field of vision. And so that's why babies love peekaboo, because to them it's really that you have disappeared and reappeared, and that's the joy and the delight of that game. So Lift the Flap kind of capitalizes on that, because it looks like there's nothing here, but surprise, there's something under that flap. And every time you open this book, it's a surprise until they've memorized the book. And so Lift the Flap books really capitalize on that area of development that an infant and a young toddler is going through by surprising them. That element of surprise is really attention-getting. The next type of book that's very grabby for young toddlers are what I like to call vocabulary books. So these are books that introduce words to our children. This is the age range that they are acquiring language. They've been listening and listening and listening to, and they're getting ready to try words out on their own. So this is that 1, 2, 3-year-old age range. So some have a picture of something and a word. This vocabulary book is also touch and feel, which adds an extra element. Another one that we really love is this huge one, and each page has a real life photo and a word, and it has the alphabet and counting. So there's all different ways to approach vocabulary with these books. Another great type of book for getting the attention of young preschoolers are books with a lot of repetition and pattern, where the next words that are going to come are very predictable because of the pattern, and so they're able to join in with the storytelling. Some books like this are Brown Bear, What Do You See? And a book like The Very Busy Spider by Eric Carle. Each of these books uses the same pattern on each page. So brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. And you turn the page and there's a red bird, and the words, even though the colors and the animal change, the words are still the same. The story continues in the same way. It's asking what the animal sees, and then they give the next animal. So this is a predictable pattern that the preschooler's mind can grab onto. Our brains are wired to look for and complete patterns. So a book that tells a story in a pattern or a formula is very grabby. It may not look showy at first, but the words and that pattern can get their attention. The same thing happens in A Very Busy Spider. Every page, it's the same formula. The story opens, and then it's an animal making its noise, asking if the spider wants to go do something. But she never answers because she's so busy spinning her web. Each page we have an animal. She doesn't answer. She's so busy spinning her web. Animal, she doesn't answer, and it just continues. And so in that way, that pattern really grabs their attention because the brain wants to hear the pattern completed. And so they might be able to attend and stay with you a little longer because they want to hear that missing part. If you were to stop here with after the animal, the rest of the pattern would be incomplete. Another great way to grab your toddler and young preschooler's attention are with stories about characters doing things that they probably do themselves. Some of our favorite books are by Leslie Patricelli. The first one that really got us is just hilarious, and I think every toddler will appreciate it, but it's called Toot. And it follows this young baby as he describes all the different places and ways that he toots, and all his questions about who else toots, and it's just hilarious. Everybody toots, and I think toddlers have a great appreciation for that, and so this is another way to grab their attention. This is something they know about. This is something they themselves probably do and think about. So that's a good way to go. Another book by Leslie Patricelli. And again, we have all these books because this first one was so funny, but this fits the type of book, which is reading stories about things that preschoolers know about and that they themselves probably do. This one's called No, No, Yes, Yes. Each page has something that's a no-no and a yes, yes. This book is great because it also follows a pattern. Every page is no, no, yes, yes. No, no, yes, yes. And it's just a great way to grab their attention because there's very few words, but the pictures are very engaging. It follows a pattern, and it has that element of, this is probably something your toddler knows a bit about. They know about no-nos. They know about yes-yeses. They know what's not okay and what is okay. Another way to grab that attention from your preschooler is by books with interesting pictures. So this is one of our favorites. Ours is in Spanish, but the story is called Good Night, Gorilla. And the story is extremely simple. It's a zookeeper saying goodnight to all the animals in the zoo. But there's other interesting things that are happening in the pictures, and that's what my youngest tends to focus on, even as she's tracking with the story. And so this is a type, and I'll include the link for the specific book down below. This is a type of book that's really great for grabbing attention, where the pictures themselves are really driving and moving the story along, and the words are extremely simple. I did a search at my local library for wordless picture books, and I got about 10 pages worth of items. So another way to begin reading is to just look at the pictures of books, or to get wordless picture books, because the idea is you want to draw them into story and to words, and sometimes removing everything else about reading, like I have to listen and I have to sit still. If you can draw them in with good pictures, that can be the beginning for them. But of course the idea is that you can try many different ways until you find something that fits. And what you're trying to do, what's really happening, is you're trying to get your foot in the door to just show them this is what happens when we read books. We hear a story or we learn words. And you don't have to say that to them. It's just going to happen as you begin to get a few more pages in with them, get a little bit more discussion about a picture or what the words say. There you have it. Several types of books to grab attention, which I will include in the description box down below. If you have any questions or need more information or would like to hear a different topic, go ahead and leave that in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so that my channel can get out there to more people. Join me next week for another video in this series, Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic. Thanks again for joining me today on my channel, Learn, Love, Learn, Do, where we love to learn and learn to do.